exponents. So let's see. All right, here we go. Question 1. Well, the rule that we learned today in class was if the bases were the same, you get to keep the base and add the exponents. Well, here the base is 3 and here the base is 4, so we can't really do anything. So the only thing we can do is actually work it out. So this is 3, 4 to the third power. Let me write this over here. 4 to the third power is 4 times 4 times 4, which is the same thing as 64. So we end up multiplying 3 times 64, which equals 3 times 4 is 12, 192. So the answer to number 1 is 192. Okay, so I guess it was just there to confuse you, in case you thought that the 3 here, the exponent, was the same as the base here, but they're not. Let's move on to the second one, or number 2. Yeah, so number 2, I will expand it. Okay, we don't have to, but I will expand. So just to, it's 4 times x times x times x times 2 times x times x times x. I'll do another step even, and I will keep the coefficients next to each other. So we have a 4 times 2, and then we have 6x's being multiplied. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now the 4 and 2 can be multiplied. I get 8. And x times x times x times x times x times x is x to the 6th power. So that's the answer. Now, what we learned today, instead of doing what I just did, was look at the bases. So we have a 4 and a 2. They're not the same base, right? But we can multiply. 4 times 2 is 8. And then x cubed and x cubed, they share the same base, and the base is x. And if they share the same base, what can we do with the exponent? We can add, and 3 plus 3 is 6. That's the shortcut. Okay. 3, x to the 5th, x to the 3, again, are the bases the same? Yes, they are, so we can keep the base and add the exponents, which eventually gives me x to the 8th power. I will expand it. X to the 5th is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5x is being multiplied. X to the 3rd is 1, 2, 3. And what's x times 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 x? Well, remember, exponents is to show repeated multiplication. So x multiplied by itself 8 times is the same thing as x to the 8th. 4. Again, let's look at the coefficients. Well, we have a 2 and a 2 here. Well, in this case, I mean, you can keep the base, and remember, the exponent here is 1. If you add the exponents, we get 2. And then look at the other, if you look at the variables, we have same variables, which is x, right? So we can keep the base, which is x, and add the exponents, which is 5. Now we can go a step forward, one more step ahead. And 2 to the 2nd power, we can simplify and just write 4x to the 5th. So my final answer would be 4x to the 5th power. Again, if you want to expand it, well, let's see, it's 2x times x times x, that's what that looks like, times 2, then x times x. So I expanded at 2x cubed and 2x squared in expanded form. Now, take these 2 and this 2, right? 2 times 2 gives me 4. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 5x is being multiplied. And that is the same thing as writing 4x to the 5th power. So obviously we don't want to expand, right? But it's just to show you. 5, we did the quotient rule as well, right? So the quotient rule, this one, I think we should expand it for a little in the first few problems. So 6 to the 5th power, 6 times 6 times 6 times 6 over 6 to the 3rd power, which is 6 times 6 times 6. Now, if you think about it, I'm going to break it even further. So this is the same thing, right? Times 6 times 6. So 6 divided by 6 is 1. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 6 divided by 6 is 1. So eventually we have how many 6's left? Well, we only have 2 6's left over. Where are they left over? In the numerator, right? So again, cross, cross, cancel, cancel, simplify to 1, right? And I have 2 6's left over. which you can then write as 6 to the second power, but since this is easy enough, we can just write it as 36. Okay? X to the 4th, x to the 7th. Well, let's expand. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 x's on the numerator, and 7 x's in the denominator. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, if you simplify, x and x can simplify to 1. X divided by x is again 1. X divided by x is 1. X divided by x is 1. So if you look at this, on the top, the only thing we have left over is a bunch of 1s. 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is just 1. And at the bottom, we have 3 x's left over, which we're going to write as x to the 3rd power. That's how you do division. Okay? 7. 8 to the 0 power, we talked about that today. Anything to the 0 power equals 1. Number 8, well, this is saying, well, not them, this is saying take everything in the parentheses and raise it to the 0 power. Well, everything in the parentheses raised to the 0 power is just 1. But that 1 with the minus sign and on the outside, eventually my answer becomes negative 1. 11, oops, sorry, I have to go down to 11. All right, 11. I'm going to expand it, you don't have to. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 over 2 times 1, 2, 3, 4 x's being multiplied. Well, let's do the coefficients first. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Right? Let me put a fraction bar here. 6 divided by 2, we get 3. And then the x's, we're going to simplify a few of them. So this x and this x simplifies to 1. This also simplifies to 1, simplifies to 1, simplifies to 1. So all that becomes just one big 1. What do I have left over? I have 3 x's left over. Top or bottom? Well, in the numerator. So x to the 3rd power. And we can put this over 1, but we're not, right? So my final answer is just 3x to the 3rd power. Which one is next? 12, 15, and 16, okay? $15. I'll do it 2 times. Expanding and not expanding. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x's. 1 x at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 y's on the top, and 2 y's at the bottom. Remember, they're all being multiplied, so they all have this invisible multiplication sign between them. Let's simplify. Well, this x and this x can go away, right? They simplify to 1. This y and this y simplifies to 1. This y and this y simplifies to 1. So now you got to rewrite, clean it up. What do I have? Do I have anything left over at the bottom? Well, they're all gone, so the only thing I have left over at the bottom is just a 1. On the top, I have 4 x's, which I rather write as x to the 4th. And how many y's? Also 4 y's, which I rather write as y to the 4th. But because the denominator is 1, and we don't need it, and my final answer looks like this. What if you don't want to expand it? Well, if you don't want to expand it, all you got to ask yourself, well, there's 5 x's on the top and 1 x at the bottom. After they simplify, right, where are you going to have x's left over? Well, I'm going to have x's left over on the top. How many? 4, right? Because 5 minus 1 is 4. Now, there's 6 y's on the top and 2 y's at the bottom. After I simplify, I'm going to have y's left over where? In the numerator, right? And how many of them? 4. And again, we're not going to, if we're going to use a fraction bar here, we've got to put a 1 here. You can write that your answer like that, or better yet, just like that is fine. Okay, let's look at this one. X's, there's 2 x's in the numerator, 1 x in the denominator. If you simplify that, you're going to have 1 x left over here in the numerator. Y's, you have 5 y's at the top, 3 y's at the bottom, 4 y's at the bottom. After you simplify them, you're going to have 1 y at the bottom on the numerator. That's it. There's going to be nothing left in the denominator except for number 1. We're not going to write an answer like that. We're just going to write an answer like this. Let me expand it. I'm going to expand over here to show you that. doing it when we expand it. So x squared means there's 2 x's. Y fifth means there's 5 of them. Over x, 1x at the bottom, and y4 would be 4y's at the bottom. I've simplified them. This x and this x can be simplified to 1, right? Becomes a 1. This y and this y becomes a 1 and a 1. This y and the y becomes 1 and 1. 1 and 1. And this y and this y becomes 1 and 1. So if you look at it, on the top you have 1 times x times y, or just xy. And at the bottom you have 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, which is just 1, or better yet, we can just write it as xy. Okay, and that was your assignment for tonight.